Where Hollywood hides, here's Bob and Suzanne.
Chicken joke!
I'm Mrs. Cleaver.
From Television City in Hollywood.
Boy, the way Glenn Miller plays.
I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
We're on a mission from God.
Run, Forrest, run!
We can rebuild him. We have the technology.
You had me at hello.
Nano.
Baby, you're the great.
I'm not going to be ignored.
Here comes the judge.
Go ahead. Make my day.
I got nowhere else to go!
Small cowbell.
That fashion.
There's anything wrong with that. You can't handle the truth.
I'm not an actor, I'm a movie star!
That's the story of my life. No respect. I don't get no respect at all.
I'm the dude.
I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
And now for something completely different.
There's no business like show business.
Welcome to Where Hollywood Hides. My name is Bob McCullough.
And my name is Suzanne Herrera McCullough. How are you, Bob?
I'm great.
It's getting cold.
It is. Well, it's that time of year.
We are entering the holiday season, and I wanted to mention that our book, Where Hollywood Hides, Santa Barbara, Celebrities in Paradise, would be the perfect holiday book. Hollywood personalities have always responded to the lure and the ideal place to live, and that's Santa Barbara. This book celebrates some of those celebrities, our talented friends and famous neighbors who have discovered Santa Barbara and made it their home. You can get it on Amazon.
Right.
And it's a great coffee table book.
It's full color, hardcover, large format. It's the perfect collectible.
And, you know, thinking back on when we wrote this book, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. It's still fun to look at it and read. It's a great read, and we're really proud of it. I have another book called Stop Screwing Around and Write a Screenplay That Sells. This is really my step-by-step guide to writing a script that gets produced. You know, if you're serious about your screenwriting, then you're serious about seeing your script get produced. In this book, I cut to the chase with a no-nonsense approach that brings your writing on par with Hollywood's professional screenwriters. It's also available on Amazon. It's one of Amazon's bestsellers, actually.
Woohoo!
Yeah. It's been a really fun experience, terrific experience. Stop screwing around and write a screenplay that sells. Trust me, it helps. Listen, today we have another terrific conversation with an old friend of mine from grammar school.
Not that old.
Well, he's as old as I am, I'll put it that way.
That's pretty old.
And since we've known each other since, I think, the 5th grade.
And this is our second interview with him.
Our second interview with Hawk Koch, one of Hollywood's preeminent producers, former president of the Motion Picture Academy, and now an author. And we're going to talk about his new book, which is titled Magic Time, My Life in Hollywood.
And he has worked with every possible celebrity, and some of the movies he's made are our all-time favorites.
Well, Heaven Can Wait, Marathon Man, The Parallax View, The Way We Were, Source Code, Collateral Damage.
I mean, there's a lot on that list. And one of my favorites is The Way We Were with Barbra Streisand, Robert Redford, and I have some info that I found out about it, and I found out that Barbra Streisand originally wanted Ryan O'Neal to star in it, but the studios didn't want to make another What's Up, Doc. I guess they had just been in kind of a hit before.
Right.
Their first choice was Warren Beatty, and he turned it down. And
what
then
a
they
different,
went to Robert Redford.
Interesting what those casting decisions can really affect the movies.
I can't even imagine Warren Beatty in it now.
Yeah, what a different movie that would have been. Yeah.
And then my next favorite movie, Heaven Can Wait.
And that one did star Warren Beatty.
That's right. So I guess Hawk Koch worked quite a bit with these actors.
He's worked with Warren Beatty a number of times. Robert Redford and he were good buddies.
So Heaven Can Wait. It says there that Beatty, who had a lot to do with the movie, I guess he was one of the producers or directors?
I think he was the director.
Anyway, Warren Beatty wanted Muhammad Ali to play Joe Pendleton.
Oh my gosh.
That really would have
That would have been
everything.
a different movie. Absolutely.
He wanted Diane Keaton, was offered the role as Betty Logan. Another tidbit that I found very interesting, Paul McCartney was hired to write the song called Did We Meet Somewhere Before for Heaven Can Wait, and Warren Beatty was not satisfied with it.
Oh, Warren Beatty's a music critic as well.
Well,
okay.
Can you imagine not
I
turning
can't.
down Paul McCartney? But we don't feel sorry for Paul, do we?
Or for Warren, absolutely.
No. Anyway, so let's go talk to your friend.
All right, here's Hawk Koch. How you doing?
I'm okay. How are you?
Well, now that you're an author, we're really excited to talk to you, man. You're no longer just some Hollywood guy. You're like the real deal.
Honestly, Bob, when the books actually arrived at my house, the actual book, I was crying.
You know, Howard, I have to tell you, we've seen a lot of books. I thought your cover was fabulous.
Oh, thank you.
I mean,
thank you. Well,
must feel great about the cover, and I see that Molly, your wife, helped you in this. And please say hi to her. It's been ages since we've spoken. Please tell her that we said hi.
I will.
A job well done.
She's very excited, and as a matter of fact, because of the positive response we've gotten from this, I've always felt that she should write her own story. And I told the stories, and she wrote them down.
Well,
and then we collaborated together from there on. But
well, you guys made a great team.
Writer.
You guys made a great team. The book, you know, as Suzanne said, we read a lot of books. This is really very, very well written. But let's back up a little bit. The name of the book is Magic Time, My Life in Hollywood. And boy, I want to tell you, you were kind enough to send us an advance copy. Having read it, it's more than just a memoir. It's really an instruction manual on how to make it in the business and overcome some pretty terrific odds.
Well, thanks, Bob. I mean, I feel like, I told the truth, and it's a kind book, and the other thing that it is, I think it's a story about fathers and sons, and I think it's a love story there, and a story between fathers and daughters, and mothers and daughters, and mothers and sons. I think it's a relationship between, a parent and a child. I think a lot of people have issues, and I had my own, but I felt like I got out from under a giant shadow.
Yeah, it's just a terrific read. Very heartfelt stuff. I mean, you revealed some. I've known you a long, long time. I mean, truth in lending here. Hawk and I have known each other since I think 7th grade. Basketball games between Hawthorne and Horace Mann, something like that.
There you go, probably.
And people live lives that are very private, and I didn't know a lot about this stuff between you and your dad, and even prior to that, your real family history is just fascinating. It's the stuff of real America, and as you say, you really do open up. I think that was pretty fantastic. This is not just some glitzy, gossipy book. This is a real personal, really a personal story. And very heartfelt. So let's back up a little bit. This is the second time we've spoken at Where Hollywood Hides, and we are kind of focused on the classic years of Hollywood. Your story really encompasses...
And you are the epitome.
Yeah, your story encompasses the best years of Hollywood, I think. So tell us a little bit about, if you don't mind, and this is all in the book, but give the listeners a taste of how you got into the business.
Well, I was around, when I was 4 years old, I went on my first movie set, and I was a scared little kid. But then when I drove to the set with my dad, who I didn't see very often because he was working 6-day weeks, I saw cowboys and Indians and teepees and horses and cavalry. And somebody asked me if I wanted to go on a horseback ride, and they put me up on this horse and rode around. And when I got home that night, my father said, "Guess who gave Little Howie?" Because that's what I was known as. His first horseback ride. My mother said, "Who?" And my father said, "Clark Gable." Well, I didn't know it was Clark Gable, but, It was pretty cool upbringing. And my dad went on to make a lot of what they called second features or B movies in the 50s. So I got to hang out on movie sets every summer. We didn't take vacations. I went on location during the summer when they were shooting. And so I learned the business, really, from, every single, whether it was wardrobe, makeup and hair, electricians, grips, camera, props, you name it. Every summer I worked with one of the different groups, and so I got very lucky after my first two major films, ones that I'm sure every one of your friends and listeners have seen, Billy the Kid versus Dracula and Jesse James Meets Frankenstein's
Of course.
Daughter. But after those two epics, I got a chance to be on a film called This Property is Condemned, which was based on a Tennessee Williams short story, starring the one that I loved and probably Bob, everybody we know loved, Natalie Wood. and a young actor named Robert Redford, and as luck would have it, I got to end up being the second AD on the film at 19 years old, and so it was quite exciting, and because I had known so much about the business and known how to organize and what movie sets were all about because of my upbringing, I was okay. The problem was I went into the bathroom one day while we were shooting, and I guess two guys walked in that didn't see me there, and one said to the other, you know, the only reason that Koch got the job is because his dad's head of Paramount Pictures. And my heart sank.
Well, that must have hurt.
And it did, because I thought, geez, it has nothing to do with me. It's only because my dad's a bigwig. But then the other guy said, you know what? That's probably true, but hey, he's doing a great job and he's working his ass off. So why don't you give him a break? And I knew at that moment that I had to work harder than anybody else if I was to succeed, because right away I had strikes against me because I was, here's this rich kid who's just there because of his dad. I worked really hard to get away from that. First of all, we weren't rich, but I guess to some people we were, but we were on the south side of Beverly Hills, actually,
right.
Out of district.
And your dad got up every morning and went to work. That's for sure.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
I think that speaks to the fact that when you want a Hollywood career, you get in any way you can. The problem is, once you're in, you really do have to go to work. It's not just a cakewalk at all.
Right, and there's a lot of people who get a break, whether it's through family or friends or whatever. You get that one break, but in Hollywood, reputation is everything, and boy, does it go fast. Even in the 60s, it went fast. Today, with the internet and everything, if you're no good, boy, nobody's going to hire you. And if you are good, everybody's going to know about it.
Now, quickly, there's a piece in your book. Tell the audience how you almost kissed Natalie Wood. That had me going, man.
Because Bob is very jealous.
I was sent with Natalie. We were going to shoot in New Orleans, and one of my jobs was it was a very difficult job, was to go with Natalie to New Orleans on the plane to make sure, take care of her and keep people away from her. And so we're sitting in first class, because I was with Natalie Wood, and we're having a great time. We're having a couple of drinks, and we're talking about life, and oh my God, I was like so enamored.
And you're like 19 years old or something, right?
I was, I had my 20th birthday on that movie, so I was 19 then. I hadn't turned 20 yet.
Now, how old was she at that point?
Natalie was probably 26, 27.
Older woman,
perfect. And just as we're about, the captain came on, fasten your seatbelts, we're about to land, and we fasten our seatbelts, we're still talking. And just as we're about to land, the landing gear are down, all of a sudden the plane went straight up in the air. Just straight up, like a rocket ship. And you just were forced back in your seat. But I thought, oh my God, am I going to die? And then I thought, if I'm going to die, I'm going to kiss Natalie Wood. And Natalie Wood had grabbed my arm when the plane went up. And just as I'm about to go towards her to actually kiss her, I don't care what she says, because I'm going to kiss her before she dies, and I die, the captain came on and said, sorry, folks, another plane came on the runway, and we had to avoid it, but we're fine, and we'll be landing again in about 5 minutes. And that was my chance, and I blew it.
That's a great story.
A missed opportunity.
Yep.
Well, your book is full of amazing stories like that. Another one which kind of impressed me was your day on the set of Rosemary's Baby with Mia Farrow and Frank Sinatra and the director and John Cassavetes.
Well, it was still the biggest, the meanest fight, I guess, I'd ever seen on a film set, because it was the last couple of days of shooting, and we shot for a very long time. And John Cassavetes, who was a director himself, and Roman really didn't get along. Cassavetes was someone who liked ad-lib and kind of, improv everything, and that's, as if you've seen John's movies, that's kind of the way they are. And Rosemary's Baby, Roman wrote the script, and it was very important that everybody abide by the script. In the last scene of the movie, when Mia finds the hidden way to get into the Castavet's apartment, where her baby is there in a black shrouded cradle, and she realizes that, as she says, what have you done to his eyes? And Sidney Blackmer, the father, one of the guys says he has his father's eyes.
That is
and
so
you realize
creepy.
Yeah. Well, but and as we're setting up the scene, Mia Farrow's husband, her name is Rosemary, and her husband, Guy Woodhouse, is supposed to be in the scene. And Cassavetes knew that he had to be in the scene, but he wanted to hide somewhere. And Roman wanted him in a spot where Mia could see him and he could have that line, it's going to be okay, it's going to be okay, everything's great. And Roman wanted him to play it one way, and John didn't want to play it that way. And I think after like 85 or 90 days of shooting, anger between the two of them all the way through it, it just blew up. And Cassavetes started calling Roman things, and Roman started calling Cassavetes things, and it really almost came to blows. And little Ruth Gordon, who ended up winning an Oscar, I think, for playing in the film, got in between these two guys and said in only Ruth's way, "Wait a minute, guys! Hey, wait a minute! We're making a movie here. Come on, cut it out. Let's go to work."
See, it takes a woman.
Yeah,
great
and
peacemaker.
So she cooled it down. But there was an electrician who had been up in the rafters since the silent era who came up to me and said, I've been on movie sets for 50 years. I've never seen a fight like that.
Wow.
And I haven't seen one like that. And I've been in the movie business for 55 years.
Well, it must have been a memorable moment because it plays very well in the book, I must say. You began really as a gopher, became an assistant director, really worked your way up from an second assistant director to first, and ultimately wound up producing. And you've been involved in some of the really iconic movies of our generation. A couple of our personal favorites, The Way We Were with Streisand and Redford. My gosh, that must have been quite an experience. And The Marathon Man. Come on, these are massively...
Heaven Can Wait?
Yeah, these are terrific films, just terrific films. Give us a little bit of what that was like with Redford and Streisand on The Way We Were, because they really seem to have some good energy there.
Well, they're acting. No, they were friends, but they were not lovers.
Oh,
but,
darn.
Barbara's a perfectionist, and Bob's a perfectionist, and Sidney Pollack's a perfectionist. And we had a great script. It was one of those films when you're working on it, you know that you're gonna, you're making something special. It has more than just the romance. It's got politics, and it's got what's true in life, dealing with the McCarthy trials.
It also had one of my favorite, very underrated actors, James Woods. I thought he was fabulous in the movie.
It was Jimmy Woods' first movie.
He was terrific. I mean, he was just so instinctual in the whole thing.
He was.
It really worked so well.
Frankie McVeigh, you got a foot for dancing.
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah. That's what Barbara says to Jimmy Woods, is the character Frankie McVeigh at the senior prom when they're graduating college.
Now you've worked multiple times with two of the biggest stars of all time. That's Warren Beatty and Robert Redford. Tell us a little bit about working with guys like that.
Well, Beatty's a perfectionist, and Beatty is he doesn't give you much. He's very good at asking questions and learning what you know. And when you ask him a question, he deflects.
Huh.
But I was fortunate because I had done you didn't mention it, but a really good movie called The Parallax View.
Oh, sure.
We had done that together, and he had tried to get me on as the AD on Shampoo, but unfortunately I was unavailable. And he called me one day in early 1977 and said, "Hey, will you read this script and meet me at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel in the Hideaway, this little bar that used to be there?" And I read the script, I loved it, and we met, and he said, how could you do the Super Bowl? He knew I loved sports and everything, and I basically told him, how we could recreate the Super Bowl if we got the permissions and everything from the NFL and the Rams and all this stuff. And
well, that's a big order.
In the room, he said, "You got the job," and I went from just an AD to AD and executive producer, and he was going to direct it. And he knew I had worked with some of the best first-time directors, Robert Benton, Paul Mazursky, Jim Bridges. So and that I had worked with some pretty damn good directors like Alan Pakula and Sidney Pollack and Roman Polanski. So he wanted me with him. So I got to work with him, and I think one of the funny bits was Warren those before you could play back everything you were doing.
Mm-hmm.
Warren is, as I said, very controlling, and when we actually did film the Super Bowl sequence at halftime of a Ram game, he had to run 50 yards in the scene. And we did it for 14 minutes. He must have run about 10 or 15 times.
Wow.
And he said, "How is it? How is it?" I said, and I'd say, "Well, Warren, go back and do it again. Do it again." And Billy Fraker, the DP, and I, and all of us, because he was the controlling one. This is the one time he couldn't be in control.
So you guys ran him into the ground. Funny.
Yeah, we had a good time with that.
Funny.
And Redford. There's a story I don't want to tell because I want you to read it in the book. But Redford almost slit my throat.
I read it. I read it. You and he hung out together for quite a while.
Yeah. We were friends, and he had said a very nice thing about me. Quotes on the book. If you get the book, there's a nice quote from Redford and from Jane Fonda.
Well, you have a lot of great testimonials.
We were very impressed with the quotes.
Testimonials alone are star-studded. It's like the Hollywood Walk of Fame on the cover of the book. My God.
Well, I'm excited that they all liked it, and I especially liked Jane's because Jane also had a pretty legendary father.
Yeah.
And what she overcame.
For sure. You just glossed over something that's of interest to me, and that is you're working as a second AD and suddenly you're getting a credit as an executive producer. Give the audience a little bit of an idea. What's the difference between an assistant director, a producer, an executive producer, production manager, things like that, and how you manage to make that transition? Because it's very rare that somebody goes from the production, from the floor of a set, to the executive offices. How did that all transpire?
Right. A first AD is really the director's right hand and left hand. The first AD breaks down the script, and what I mean by breakdown, and let's say it's the scene where Jack Nicholson gets his nose cut in Chinatown. You read the scene and okay, you have to have special effects there for the nose cutting. You've got to have props with the correct knife. You've got to have these 4 actors. You've got to have the car that Jack drives up in. He's just come out of the water, so he's got to be wet down. That you have to have several of his suits so that he can change into a dry suit and then get it wet again just before. And you have to have a little blurb about what the scene is about. And you do that for every single scene in the movie. And you make a shooting schedule. And because of your experience and knowing how a director works and how much money the studio is going to let you have, you basically make a schedule that could be 20 days and a little independent, or it could be 80 days and a big movie. And the second AD that works with the first is really this. He does the paperwork and gets the actors from their trailers to the set, but the first AD runs the set. And I think I was fortunate enough because I didn't want to just be the craft person of running the set. I had no problems speaking my mind to the director. I was smart enough not to talk to the actors, but I really thought creatively at the same time as doing the other work. So I think that luckily the people who I was working with, the directors and the actors, saw that I had a creative bent to me as well. And so when I was asked to be an associate producer on a movie called The Drowning Pool, it gave me a little more respect from the actors and the writers and everything. And then as that worked out and I got further along, the exec producer job was really kind of like the line producer who is in charge of the production and the money, as well as running the set, and as well as being creatively involved with the director and the producer. And then eventually, at a certain point after doing that for a couple of movies, I was lucky enough to get an agent, and I got a partner, and I said it's time for me to be a full producer. And the full producer, where it says produced by, and today when you see the films that are coming out today, there's a little PGA next to the name of the actual producers who actually did the job. There may be some other people who get a producer credit, but the ones who say PGA, it's what we call the producer's mark, means they did the majority of the functions of a producer. And a producer is the gentleman or lady who finds the material, somehow develops the material, gets the financing of the for the material, hires the director, goes through all of pre-production. He's in charge. It's like, I don't know, if you're running a supermarket, you're the one in charge of the supermarket. There might be someone there who's telling you how to lay out the produce and where to put the wine, but you're in charge of what it costs and what it's going to cost and keeping everything running. And so that's during pre-production, production, and then in post-production, you're overseeing what the director's doing with his cut and the previews and the marketing and publicity and distribution and the actual exhibition and where it's going to go, what theaters it's going to be in. Are you tired yet?
No, but this is, I feel like I'm going to film school again, because they don't teach this stuff in film school. They teach people how to make movies, how to shoot something, but they don't teach people the business of the business.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I would say for the people who do go to film school, if you're going to university or you're going to film school, take a lot of English courses, because aside from learning the practicalities of the craft of making your film, you better know how to tell a story, because a great editor knows how to tell a story. A great writer obviously knows how to tell a story. A great director tell a story. Cinematographer needs to know how to tell the story. Every craft in our business, the best ones are the ones that know how to tell a story and tell it wonderfully.
So on a personal note, as your career started to take off, what was your relationship with your dad at this point? Was he so proud, or did he acknowledge it, or how do you feel about it?
Well, if you walked into my dad's office and asked him a question, he'd sit with you for 6 hours and talk to you. He had a very difficult time talking to his son. He'd help me in every way he could, and I knew he was proud of me. I mean, he didn't say it, but I knew he was proud of me. But he was a man that didn't hug you, didn't kiss you, didn't. He wasn't outgoing in that way to his son. I knew that he was proud of me, but as I went up the ladder, wherever I met somebody, and I was Howard Koch Jr., they wouldn't talk to me, they'd talk about my father. So even though I was, making all these great movies, and I was a first AD, and then an associate producer, and then a producer, if I met somebody who didn't know me, they'd say, oh, I love your dad, what a great guy, Jesus, he helped me so much, and are you in the business? And boy, that would take your ego down pretty quick.
Yeah, that's brutal. That's brutal. As you know, I worked with your dad for a little bit over a year on Hollywood Wives, the miniseries with Aaron Spelling. And I had the completely opposite experience with him, but of course I was not his son, but he treated me like a son. And you talk about hugging and going to lunch and, good fellas kind of stuff. Yeah,
well, our offices were down the hall from one another. And the only time I had lunch with him at the Paramount Commissary was if I asked. He never once came into my office and said, how you doing?
Oh, yeah, well, such is life, huh? Well, you know, the other thing that you touch upon in your book, and I don't want to belabor it, but you do talk a lot about the issues in the industry of the demands of work and the demands of home don't always go together.
It's a balancing act that I was not very good at balancing.
Well, you're not alone.
Again, because I was fighting so hard to be my own person on a movie set. When I came home, I was exhausted, and my mother was a 50s mother that when my dad came home, she knew he was on his way. She would go upstairs and she'd put on a fresh dress and she'd put perfume on and do her hair and her makeup and be in high heels. And when he walked in the door, she'd give him a big hug and a kiss and have food ready. Well, that didn't happen in the 70s.
No, Ozzie and Harriet had been canceled.
The women's movement came along, and I'm the first one who believes in equal opportunity for all. But when I got home, my wives were sleeping or taking care of the kids and not really paying that much attention. And I think I didn't know how to handle it, so I didn't do that very well.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting passage in the book that I think is far beyond show business. It's instructive for everyone, I believe, that work-life balance is difficult to achieve. The other thing that's always difficult to achieve in Hollywood is true success. Give us a little bit of a quick view of Bogart Slept Here and how that went down. Because that's, I mean, you're probably the most successful guy of my generation in the business, but there's a little story there, isn't there?
Well, yeah. I mean, I thought it was time for me to try and move up to exec producer and to start producing movies, and I got an agent, and very quickly he got me a meeting with and then a job with Mike Nichols on a Neil Simon comedy called Bogart Slept Here. And it was going to star Robert De Niro, and this was 1975. So De Niro had only done Godfather and 2, where he was, he's very serious, and Bang the Drum Slowly, where he plays a dying baseball player, and Mean Streets, which is a Scorsese movie. So
not exactly a comedy,
with
right?
Him,
right.
With him and Marsha Mason, and the truth was, he wasn't very funny. And he had just finished playing Travis Bickle in Taxi Driver, hadn't come out. They had just finished shooting when he came to do our movie. And after prepping Mike and getting everything ready, we started shooting, and De Niro just wasn't funny. And came the 7th day of shooting, and something happens that I want you to read in the book, but just Mike said, I can't work with De Niro anymore. And we went back down to Warner Brothers and watched the first few days shooting, and his best friend John Calley was running Warner's, and he said, all right, we'll let him go. And they fired Robert De Niro, and we tried to recast the movie, and just one bad thing happened after another. And
oh my God, who fires Robert De Niro?
He just couldn't do Neil Simon comedy at the time. I mean,
Sure.
Neil Simon comedy, folks, watch Barefoot in the Park, watch The Odd Couple.
Right.
There's a rhythm to the language, for sure.
Exactly, and De Niro was not in there at that time. So, my first movie as a producer, we abandoned after 7 days of shooting.
Wow.
So that was a real downer.
Welcome to the business. Right.
Yes.
No guarantees in Hollywood, that's for sure.
Since then, though, I think De Niro has gotten the hang of it. He's done quite a few comedies.
He's been working for
ever
40 years now. At that time, he'd been in the business, maybe 2 or 3 years. So experience does pay.
Oh, for sure.
If you listen, and you're aware, you're going to learn.
Can you tell us what writing this book has done for you? Did you come to any realization or anything you want to say about the process and the journey of writing that book?
Well, the process of working with Molly was great. I mean, a lot of people say, are you kidding? You worked with your wife? But we did, and we did it. We really had a great time doing it. We took a long car drive, and about a 10-hour drive from L.A. up to Ashland, Oregon. And I had written down every movie that I had worked on, and then she had a tape recorder, and she'd mention, the year in the movie, and I'd talk about if there were stories that happened on that movie, and then what was going on in my personal life. And then she transcribed everything and started to write, and then she'd come with a chapter, and I'd give my input, and then we'd go back and forth, and finally got to a point where we found, wow, this is really good, and we gave it to a friend of mine who I thought would be a good editor, and she knew me for 30 years and was tough as nails, and she and my wife ganged up on me a lot when I wanted certain things in, and it worked. And I got it to an agent, a book agent, and he said, a lot of Hollywood books don't really get published, so don't get your hopes up. And a week later he said, well, we've got a publisher, Post Hill Press wants to do it. So we were very lucky, and I think that, it's a kind book. As I said, I don't. If you're looking for trash and gossip, putting people down,
no, I think
don't look at this book, because I'm against that. There's too much of that happening in our world today.
I think that your book really is a book filled with heart. It's a love of the business. You admit a lot of flaws and mistakes you've made. And it's really a life. It's kind of an instructional for life, if you will. I don't want to oversell it, but I'm blown away, frankly, because you were never that good on the basketball court, but you're an incredible writer, and the book is fantastic. The book is.
Well, thank you. Well, I think. Sorry, Bob. One thing. The final question is, how did I feel after writing it? I feel like I'm one lucky guy. I really do. I feel like I've had even with the downs and the ups and all the problems I've caused for other people and my own problems, I just feel like I'm very lucky.
Well, the book is fantastic. It's Magic Time, My Life in Hollywood. When is the actual official release date?
Release date is Tuesday, November 12th.
Oh boy,
but
coming
you can
up.
pre-order it.
So
I don't know when this.
So I'm sure it's on Amazon now, right? As a pre-order.
You can pre-order on Amazon, on Apple, at Target, on Barnes and Noble.
Fantastic.
And there's also an audio book coming out. So if you like the stories, I did the audio book, and that's coming out November 12th also.
Fantastic.
What a great idea for a Hollywood book and a holiday book.
Exactly. Yeah, the holidays are coming up.
Christmas gift.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Christmas gift.
And as Suzanne said earlier, it has one of the best covers I've ever seen.
Love it.
Well, thank you. I worked hard on that, and that's me in front of over 1 billion people.
Yeah.
Pretty scary on the Oscar stage in 2013.
Well, you did a terrific job, and again, thanks for talking to us. We hope to.
Thank you, and it's great talking to you guys again, and I hope to see you soon.
Okay, Hawk.
Take care.
Hey, you be good. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Wow, that was great talking to Hawk.
It's been a while since we've spoken to him.
It has. Well, that was a terrific conversation.
We had the privilege of reading the book before almost anyone, and it was a page turner. The cover is fabulous.
Magic Time, My Life in Hollywood, on Amazon, along with Where Hollywood Hides, Celebrities in Paradise, and Stop Screwing Around and Write a Screenplay that Sells. Buy a book. Buy a lot of books.
See you at the movies.
Where any office for your young mechanic can be a panic with just a good-looking plan. And any barmaid can be a star maid if she dances with or without